for those of you who don't know me, I'm Pat Lynch. I'm president of the Broadneck Council. We are hosting this event with other co-sponsors, and I'd like to introduce Kathleen McCown, who is president of the Arnold Preservation Council, one of our co-sponsors, and Bo Breeden, you probably all know Bo, who is president of the Cape St. Clair Improvement Association. I'd like to, thank you. We're privileged, truly privileged, to have so many of our state and local government candidates join us as a forum, and we look forward to hearing all your election platforms. And then at the end, we have a special guest tonight. For the first time in my memory, he's not on the program, but Senator Ed Reilly has come to speak to you tonight. And his comments will be his farewell comments, because you know Ed is not running for public office again, but he asked me if he could come and say farewell to all of you. He's been a very close friend of the Broadneck Council and the Broadneck Peninsula, and I'm absolutely delighted that he's here. So when we run down the speakers to the last one, Ed will get up and give you his comments. He did complain about being last on the program. All right, I'm going to turn this over to Kathleen McCown, who is going to introduce each one of the candidates.
Well, thank you everyone for being here, and let's get started. So first, it's my pleasure to introduce our Congressman for the Maryland 3rd District in the U.S. House, Senator John Sarbanes.
You have 4 minutes.
Yeah.
I will flash the pink sign when you have 1 minute left, so that you understand. Okay?
So thanks to the Arnold Preservation Council, to the Broadneck Council, to the Cape St. Clair Improvement Association for hosting this forum tonight. I'm glad I could be here. I've got a window. We're voting in D.C., but we had a gap, and I didn't think I was going to be able to make it, but I rushed out here. I'll probably have to turn around and head back, but I did want to participate. Let me, before I move on, just salute Ed Reilly. I'm glad he's here tonight, and you'll be hearing from him, but he is and has been an outstanding public servant, and I just wanted to salute him for all his work for this community. Thank you, Ed. I am seeking re-election to the 3rd District as a member of Congress. My focus in the years that I've been serving has been pretty broad, but it's been particularly on the issues of health care, making sure that we have good health care for everybody, that access is there so that when people are sick and need a doctor, need to go to the hospital, they don't have to worry about their coverage. And I'm proud that I played some role in advancing that during my time. On the environment, the Chesapeake Bay, I know that that is an issue that is close to the hearts of this group. I've had the opportunity to get briefed in detail by Bo Breeden and all of the folks here that are working every day to make sure that the Cape St. Clair is doing right by the environment, lifting it up and benefiting from it. So that has been a focus, and I'll continue that focus if I'm able to. Volunteerism, civic engagement has been another primary area of endeavor for me during my time in Congress, and these are things that I'll seek to continue. I've enjoyed working with many of candidates that you see here tonight who are serving at the county level. Work as a team to serve constituents, and that's a number one. Let me just assure you that while we live in a moment where a lot of divisiveness is talked about and sort of hyper-partisanship, there is, I think, reason to hope that we can bridge that and get important things done. And I want to highlight 4 pieces of legislation in the last 18 months that were passed in Washington on a bipartisan basis. Not just like a couple of Republicans or a couple of Democrats, but majorities of both Democrats and Republicans passed these bills. Infrastructure Investment Act, which is going to bring billions of dollars to communities across the country to build up infrastructure, which is going to be important in terms of jobs going forward. That was done on a bipartisan basis. The second, the Chips and Science Act. We know we need semiconductor chips for our appliances that we use every single day. 90% capacity this will invest billions of dollars to lift up American companies so that they can manufacture those products right here in the United States. A third bill that we passed just within the last couple of months to protect our veterans and provide benefits from those who are exposed to these toxic burn pits. This has been across the country, including some here in the state of Maryland. We got those benefits passed. Again, a majority of Republicans and Democrats supported that bill. And then last week we passed the Invest to Protect Act, which will strengthen the community-oriented policing services program, the COPS program, and bring new investment of dollars from the federal government to local police departments across the country for training of officers, bonuses for officers who stay in the job for an extra period of challenges in terms of keeping that workforce in place. This will strengthen communities, result in safe and livable communities. Again, passed with over 2/3 of Democrats and Republicans. So we came together around those four very important bills. I'm very proud of that, and I think it signals that we can work together when we try. Common ground isn't always easy to find, but it always pays off. And I think that's the spirit in which we any elected office these days. Let me just close with this last thing. Constituent service has always been at the top of the list for me, and it will continue to be. The way you do that is you reach out, you listen to people one-on-one. You also identify sort of trends or things that are happening that you can fix on a broader level. So while I'm always focused on national legislation, because that's part of my job, I also want to make sure that I'm always responding really kind of at the grassroots level to constituent concerns, and I will continue to do that. You can't win every vote in an election, but you should always try to earn every vote in an election. That's what I promise to do. Thank you all very much.
Thank you all so much for having me. Thank you for having this incredible event. I've actually been attending this event for many years now. I know you've had it in the past, and 2018 was, I think, the last big time that I think I was in your community for this type of event. And I love how civically minded so many of the people in this community are, because it is critically important. So my name is Yuripzy Morgan. I am actually your neighbor. I live down the street. I live in Severn Park with my husband and my two kids. They're 5 and 7. They attend a public school right here in Severn Park. And the issues that are critical to you are the issues that are critical to me because we live them together. I'm not originally from this area, though, I will confess. I am originally from East Texas. My background is a little bit different, I know. If you really get me talking, you might hear the accent eventually. But let me tell you a little bit about myself. My dad is from Mexico. My mom fled the Civil War in El Salvador in 1980. It took my dad a solid 4 years to convince my mom to marry him, and then she finally did. I'm the oldest of their 5 children, and like a lot of families, they believe that if you work hard and you get a great education, that you can be successful. My 4 siblings and I went to college. I went to Maryland at law school, which is how I ended up here. Although I will say, my youngest brother, who is a welder, guess who made the most money out of school? It was a welder. Yes, absolutely. So when it comes to talking about issues of higher education and student loans, I think one of the first things that we have to do is remember that trades are higher education. Now, Congressman Sarbanes was correct that we have to have consensus. We have to build. We have to have conversation. And the reality is that we don't have that right now. With the people that are in Congress today and the people who particularly have been in Congress for more than a decade, it has not happened. What we've seen is a deterioration in the way that we as people communicate, the way that we as neighbors communicate. And what we need are people who can communicate with each other and are willing to do so before they're... Congressman Sarbanes is absolutely correct about the infrastructure. But let me tell you something about that bill. That bill only was signed into law after it was stripped of the other things that were in the original bill, the Build Back Better bill, if you remember that. It was not passed. Why? Because it wasn't about the things that we're talking about right now. The bay, the streets, the roads, the things that we think about as traditional infrastructure. So when we talk about building consensus, when your hand is forced, when you are then forced to strip out all the extras and then create a bill that strictly focuses on infrastructure, that's not fair to say that it's a consensus. What happened was the American people spoke, and Congress was forced to listen. And look, right now, this isn't about Republicans or Democrats, because I'll be honest with you, I am a lifelong Republican, and I have no idea where my party is today. It's not about Republicans. It's not about Democrats. It's about people. It's about you and me and our neighbors and our children and our families and what's happening. And the reality is that the people who are in now are the same people who have created the mess that we're in today, because it's more about fundraising. It's more about winning elections than it is about doing what's right for the American people. And that is not correct. Look, I'm married. I've been married for 9 years. I love my husband dearly. And I'm seeing a lot of people in this room who are probably also married as well. Do you agree with your spouse 100% of the time? Then why would you expect anyone to vote with their political party 100% of the time? Congressman Sarbanes' history is of voting with Nancy Pelosi 100% of the time. I love my husband to death, who, by the way, is a veteran, and I appreciate all that he does. But like I said, I don't vote with him. I don't agree with him 100% of the time. It has to be more important to be successful, to be accessible to the people in your community. And by the way, I live here. The congressman doesn't. It is important for us to have local representation because it does matter. And I thank you for being here, and I look forward to hearing all your questions.
Thank you so much to our host. I have to say, that is the friendliest your time is up music I've ever heard in a debate. I'm Sarah Elfreth. I have had the great privilege of representing District 30 in the Maryland State Senate for the last 4 years. District 30 is Annapolis, parts of the Broadneck, almost everything that touches the Severn River, and then South County. I promised 4 years ago when I was last at this debate that I would be tenacious in my representation of this district, and I hope that I've lived up to that challenge. In those 4 years, I've worked across the aisle and with colleagues across the state to pass 65 bills, all with bipartisan support, on common sense issues and solutions to the challenges we face as a community, on everything from trying to close the digital divide that was only highlighted by the pandemic. And we passed the first statewide Office of Broadband here in Maryland and invested $400 million of federal funding to help make sure our kids could get online, our seniors could access their telehealth. And because of that bill, Maryland was named the most improved state for business in 2021. This past year, we worked on the Great Maryland Outdoors Act, another kind of pandemic response. We all rediscovered our wonderful parks systems, but we've not been investing in those green spaces for a long time. So we passed a bill that is the largest investment in bringing our communities together around our green spaces in Maryland's history. I have a lot of veterans in my district. I'm so proud to represent the Naval Academy and a lot of veterans of all the forces. I don't have a favorite. My father was Army. I don't like to talk about that too much. But this year we made a lot of progress, not just on tax cuts for our veterans, but on really getting creative with trying to solve the particular problem we have when it comes to veteran suicide. 26 veterans a day are taking their lives because of untreated mental issues. We passed a bill that's going to provide creative solutions, alternative treatment therapies for veterans, and because of that work, I was really privileged to be named Legislator of the Year from the American Legion this year. I serve on the Budget and Taxation Committee, and I also serve this year as chair of the Chesapeake Bay Commission, which is a group of legislators from Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Virginia. So I spend a lot of time in Richmond and Harrisburg trying to get our partners upstream and downstream to continue to make good progress when it comes to protecting our greatest natural resource. My work on the Budget Committee is really about making sure that our state taxpayer dollars, your state taxpayer dollars, are used in a way that is balanced and responsible. And we've been able, as a team, to bring home a lot of that funding back to our community's priorities, like the YWCA right down the street. But we also, recognizing the surplus that we had this year, knew we needed to do more for our small businesses, our seniors, our families. So we passed a $1.6 billion tax cut this past year, targeted, again, to seniors on fixed incomes, to small businesses that were hardest hit because of the pandemic. We also used that budget surplus to pass the largest public safety budget in state history, working to fund our police and firefighters and first responders. I'm really proud to be endorsed, not just by the firefighters, but also by the Fraternal Order of Police in this election. But that's all to say, if I didn't pass a single bill or bring $1 home to the district, That's okay, because the number one priority I've had for these last 4 years is to make sure that your voice is heard, to make sure we are responding to constituent challenges, whether it be helping you get vaccines during the peak of the pandemic or helping 1,500 constituents get through the unemployment chaos when they suddenly found themselves without a job in March of 2020. Helping respond to the two tornadoes that our district has experienced. And most importantly, attending and hosting town halls just like this, because the best ideas that we get as your representatives and legislators come from the community. I've been here. I want to continue to represent you. I have the best job in the world. I get to help people every single day, and I'd love to continue to do that. And for that, I ask you for your support and your vote on November 8th. Thank you.
Why am I different? Why am I running? Well, I am different. I'm much like Hogan in that I intend to be completely bipartisan. And let me explain really what bipartisan means. Bipartisan means when two parties or different sides disagree, they come to a consensus, they give a little, they take a little. Bipartisan does not mean each side signs off on a nice piece of legislation. What I mean by that is everybody wants parks, everyone wants the white hat, nice issues. So getting legislation through like that is easy, everybody signs on. What's tougher is crime, cost of living issues, and tax. And those are the issues that really matter when you go bipartisan. And what the legislative body has done now in the Senate, which is the reason I'm running, is they've gone so far left and so extreme that take Hogan, for example. Hogan, trying to be a moderate, vetoed 109 bills. Well, what did the Senate left liberals do, including my opponent? They went back and the supermajority passed 109 out of 109 of Hogan's bills that he vetoed. That's not bipartisan. That's not working with our governor, who most of us love and most of us think is bipartisan. So let's be careful when we call it bipartisan that we're sure it's bipartisan and we're compromising on issues that are tough. And those issues really are cost of living, their crime, and those are the issues I hear constantly. Now, my campaign is very different from most, and this is why I feel you can trust me. I don't take money from PACs, I don't take money from lobbyists, special interests, and my opponent, as will most politicians, I'm not a politician, by the way, I've never run, been elected to any office, she's taken hundreds of thousands of dollars from those entities. And when you take money, you owe a favor. So I don't, so I can answer only to you, the voters. And that is something very different. So I think you should consider that when you're voting, where people take money from. And that's any party, anytime. I think that needs to be considered. In terms of the tax breaks, well, you got to consider something. There's been $250 million in new taxes raised by the legislature. They talk about these tax breaks, but really what happened was there's $7 billion surplus this year, and they've chosen to give back only 1.5% of that. Now, I feel that you can spend your money wiser than the government can spend it. And I have advocated for years we should give seniors a complete tax break on their state taxes. So there's been a moderate, tiny $1,000, $1,700 per couple tax break for seniors, but the legislature, the liberal left, has voted themselves in a $17,000 pay raise. I should correct myself, they didn't vote it in, they just didn't vote it out. So that's not right. Well, we're in a pandemic. Taxing streaming and Netflix and Hulu during the pandemic, which they did, is not right. Giving only the 1.5%, not fair. So we need to do something better with that. And in crime, we need to not let the violent criminals out. They need to stay in jail. So we need to come to some bipartisan agreement on those things: crime, cost of living, taxes, before we can call ourselves bipartisan in the legislature. So I ask for your vote so that we can move to a moderate, safe legislature. Thank you.
Thank you. I am Delegate Shaneka Henson. I represent Annapolis, Arnold, Broadneck, Edgewater, and London Town in the Maryland House of Delegates. I came to the House of Delegates in 2019 when we lost Mike Bush, and since that time I've worked really hard with my colleague Senator Sarah Elfreth and Delegate Dana Jones representing this district. In District 30A, we've seen tornadoes, we've seen floods, we've seen tragedies, and we also have seen some historic achievements, and we've been there for the district through all of those highs, lows, and in-betweens. In the House of Delegates, I serve on the Appropriations Committee, where we oversee the state's $60 billion operating budget and $4 billion capital budget. We've done some amazing things with our state budget. We've expanded access to dental care, mental care, reproductive care, and housing as well in the state of Maryland for millions of Marylanders. I've worked to get illegal guns off the streets. I've worked to make sure that 14,000 small businesses could cut the red tape and the taxes that were holding them back. In my career as an attorney, I spend a lot of time using my voice, standing on my feet, just like I'm doing right now, advocating for people. But in my role as delegate, I spend much more time listening to people, to understand what it is that they want and they need to be successful. And as I have gone door to door over the last 3 years listening to people, one thing has become very strikingly clear, and that is that people, no matter where they are in the district, whether it's Edgewater, Annapolis, Arnold, London Town, people all want the same thing, and that is they want to feel safe in their community. They want to send their kids to great schools. They want to retire confident that the plan that they have worked hard for is going to see them through. And that has been clear and consistent across the board. So what have we done to make sure that that's going to come true and happen for them? In the House of Delegates, we've done a lot of things to make sure that our seniors have what they need. We've cut costs on prescription drugs. We've made sure that businesses are able to thrive and flourish here in the state of Maryland. We've done a lot to make sure that we're targeting tax relief to put money back in the pockets of people who are putting food on the tables for their families. I always tell people that I'm very passionate about what it is that I do because this is my hometown. I grew up here in Annapolis. My dad is here. He grew up here in St. Margaret's. So everything that I do has a great deal of passion behind it. When my elementary school was dangerously overcrowded, I fought to build a new one. When rising sea levels was threatening downtown, we increased resiliency funding. When shots rang out in the community where I raised my son, I promised to do everything in my power to keep all of our children safe. And we have continued to do that work. That's the reason why I'm fighting to return to the House of Delegates, to continue to be your delegate, because there remains work to be done for this district and for the people who are here. I'm so thankful for the organizers of tonight's events. I look forward to your questions and answering them, and to getting to know, to hearing from you, and using those listening skills to understand what's most important to everyone here. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Doug Rathell. I'm running for state delegate in District 30A, which is Annapolis, Edgewater, the London Town area, a little bit of Arnold, and basically the whole Annapolis Peninsula to Mill Creek. Which is also Delegate Shaneka Henson and Delegate Dana Jones' district. So professionally, I'm a career fire lieutenant with the city of Annapolis. I've been there for 16 and a half years. I know Annapolis better than anybody. I know every street. I know every neighborhood. I've been in every neighborhood. I've been in almost every house. I can walk in anywhere. I'm a familiar face. When people are having the worst day of their life, they call and I show up and make it better. I'm going to bring that to the State House. And there's no... Annapolis is really several cities within a city, and we need to just unite it all together. I'm married to a nurse. I have 3 children in public schools. Many people preach about public school funding, but their children are not in public schools. My 3 children go to Anne Arundel County Public Schools. There's no reason Anne Arundel County Public Schools in the Broadneck Peninsula are any better than Anne Arundel County Schools in Annapolis or Glen Burnie or other areas like that. It's all the same administration. It's all the same school system. We need to get the funding into the classroom, get community involvement, and really just boost it up, get the parents involved, and give all these children the same opportunities. Like I said before, our area is in an emergency. And when there's an emergency, not many of us call a lawyer. They call 911. So I respectfully would appreciate to have your guys vote. Some of my platform issues are lowering our retirement taxes. And several people leave our state when they retire because it's just too costly to live here. I also want to increase our public safety. I want to help with the opioid epidemic. I want to bring our Safe Station program statewide. And then I also want to bring our education funding into the classrooms. And politely, I'm going to donate my time to everybody that can't follow the rules. And thank you all for coming out here tonight. And remember to vote for Doug Rathell.
So much. Hi, everyone. I am Delegate Dana Jones. I'm very happy to be here with you tonight, and thank you to the organizers for tonight's amazing event. So, as my other folks here have tried to outline for you, more specifically 30A for the Broadneck Peninsula, those who would vote at Arnold Elementary, Gloria Day Lutheran, so I too would represent you. My husband and I raised our 12-year-old son in the Annapolis Neck, and I am so proud to be your representative. About 2.5 years ago, just days into the pandemic, I was appointed to fill a vacancy in the House of Delegates left by Alice Kane. And at that time, when I got the call from Governor Hogan's office, the joke was that I was maybe one of the only things that Governor Hogan and the Anne Arundel County Democrats have agreed on in a while, and I'll take it. That makes me very happy. I was elected to serve by those on the Anne Arundel County Democratic Central Committee, and I have to say that I knew exactly what I was getting into. So many folks through the pandemic said, I had no idea it was going to be this bad. But I stood up and I put my hand up and I said I wanted to serve because that's what this role is. It's not about a pin. It's not about having your face on something. It's really about serving your constituency. And then in the first 2 years of the pandemic, I spent a tremendous amount of time in the community, passing out food, talking with people at distribution lines. And that's where some of my most hallmark pieces of legislation came from. I am the author of a bill that forever did away with taxes on diapers, taxes on car seats, baby bottles. I co-sponsored a retirement tax. $300 million in tax cuts. Because when I talked to members of our community, I heard loud and clear that they needed more at the kitchen table. When they put their budget together, they needed more at the end of the day. As a member of the Ways and Means Committee, I also serve on the Election Law Subcommittee, and I'm very proud of the work that we have done to expand the accessibility of the right to vote. We in Maryland have so much to be proud of when it comes to voting. When we see some of the craziness in other states and what they're doing, we here in Maryland have leaned forward and done amazing things for the right to vote. I have spent a large part of my career protecting reproductive health care. And I am very proud to be a co-sponsor of legislation that would protect the right for reproductive health care. I voted down all 11 amendments and made sure that women's health care here in the state of Maryland was protected. I really think it's critical also to talk about all of those that through the pandemic came to our shared offices in District 30A. When they call your office as a delegate, they've called many other people needing help. There were mothers and fathers who just needed the benefits for which they were in fact promised. They needed that the help with their family. They needed help with food and unemployment insurance. And that's why I'm so proud that we had 1,500 solved cases. When the system broke, we were there to see them through it. I'm endorsed by the Maryland Sierra Club, the Anne Arundel County firefighters. I have over 15 endorsements in this race, the most of any other candidate. And it's not because of just what I've promised. It's because of what I've done as your delegate. With this team, I have brought home over $70 million back to the district in projects for parks and schools and community centers, things that are critical to all of us. There is that pleasant music. There it is. The nicest hook. So I'm looking forward to speaking with so many of you later tonight as we continue with our questions and answers. I humbly ask to earn your vote, and I'm looking forward to talking to you later. So thank you so much. I'm Dana Jones.
Thank you so much to our hosts for hosting this great event this evening. It's so important always to have informed voters, but especially during this time where we are in our country right now. So I really appreciate you all being engaged interested, informed voters in coming out this evening. So I'm Dawn Gile. I'm your Democratic nominee for State Senate here in District 33, which is central Anne Arundel County, includes Severn Park, Arnold, Crofton, Gambrels, Odenton, Crownsville, Davidsonville. I could go on. A large part. Also wanted to thank our current State Senator Ed Reilly for his presence here today. Thank you so much. So I want to talk to you about three things this evening, a little bit about who I am, why I'm running for office, and some of my top priorities in office. So first of all, who I am. So I've been an attorney for the last 16 years, representing businesses in litigation. But more importantly, public service has always been important to us and to our family, a military family. My husband just retired a couple weeks ago after 24 years and 10 days in the Army, but who's counting? And thank you. I've led organizations that work to serve the veteran and military family community, including working to expand employment opportunities for military spouses. I oversaw a program that provided pro bono legal services to Gold Star families, veteran caregivers, veteran entrepreneurs. I also serve on the board of trustees for my undergraduate university and serve on the board of another organization that provides scholarships and emergency relief assistance to members of the military special operations community and their families. Proud mother of 3 girls. We live just down Ritchie Highway in Severn Park. So that's a little bit of background about who I am. Now I want to tell you a little bit about why I decided to run for office. So as I mentioned, public service had always been important to me. However, COVID was really transformative, the pandemic. I had spent much of my nonprofit leadership and volunteer time working to advance the careers of military spouses who are overwhelmingly women. And I was deflated when I saw the impact the pandemic had on working families, including in particular the disproportionate impact on women leaving the workforce. And I feel as though when we don't have good policies in place like access to affordable, quality childcare or paid family and medical leave, invariably working families suffer. So that's what brings me here before you today as a candidate for State Senate, wanting to make meaningful change for Maryland's families. Since announcing my candidacy now more than a year ago, although it feels like a lifetime ago, never before have our state legislatures been so important. Indeed, they are at the front lines and responsible for making the essential decisions that hold the keys to our civil rights, things like what we as women can do with our own bodies, or keeping our kids safe from gun violence when they go to school, keeping our grandparents safe from gun violence when they go to a grocery store. Our state legislatures are also responsible for crafting the rules on how our democracy operates and how voters cast their ballots. As for me and my priorities, as I mentioned, I care deeply about supporting working families, like access to affordable, quality childcare, paid family and medical leave, but I also support families and women when they make the decision not to have a family, and so I support access to safe reproductive care. In addition, I support investments in our public schools. I think investing in our children is the right thing to do with smart policy. My kids are also in public school in Severn Park. My candidacy has been endorsed by the Maryland State Education Association, the Teachers Association of Anne Arundel County. I also support strong environmental protections. My kids, like many kids around here, I'm sure, spend their summers swimming in the river. And I am committed to making sure we're making the right decisions to protect and restore the Chesapeake Bay and its watershed. And my candidacy has been endorsed by environmental groups like the Maryland League of Conservation Voters, Sierra Club. Is that the music? I think that's George Thorogood telling me it's almost time to wrap it up. But I could go on my list of endorsements, but most importantly, your endorsement, your vote means the world to me. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us. This is one of the most well-attended forums that I have seen, not just this year, in many, many years. And we're always looking forward to come here and meet and get to know a lot of your issues that are in the community. I've had the honor of representing you for the last 8 years in the legislature, and I wanted to give you a little bit of background. I was born and raised in Lebanon. I came here as a 19-year-old with $700 in my pocket and one-way plane ticket. I went from cleaning toilets to the House of Delegates. I'm a father, I'm a husband. My kids go to Anne Arundel Community College. My son goes there, and my kids go to Severn Park also. I have been deeply involved in a lot of the issues specifically here on the peninsula, and I've had the pleasure of working with many of you, especially Pat and many people that have we've had the pleasure of working with. We have, over the past years, we've worked on these specific problems. We helped secure the funding for Cape St. Clair Beach Restoration Project, and we'll continue to advocate for more funding. We've also supported the Preserving Holly Beach Farm and also the Green Bay Point. I've also, last year, I put in a legislation to put a lockbox for the Chesapeake Bay Fund, because even though Governor Hogan hasn't rated this fund as previous governors, we wanted to make sure that those funds are secure for the project that needed to go on. I pride myself as a consensus builder. I believe politics shouldn't be war. Politics is finding the common ground. And sometimes we find it in Annapolis, sometimes we don't. Sometimes, we're the minority party. The Democrats dominate the legislation, but we were always able to find ways to work through some of the legislation that benefits you, the citizen. Because if we don't accomplish anything and we continue to fight, you lose. So I have a top-rated community service office. We've helped, just like everybody else here, we've helped people from potholes all the way up to pardons and anything in between, unemployment and everything else. There are many things that I think. I'm a Republican, you already know that, and the reason I'm a Republican because I believe the Republican Party is the party that promotes opportunity. But I think also America is bigger than our political parties. I think we have to come together. There's so much divisiveness and hatred on both sides, and we need to, and that's not the majority of Americans. This is the loudest Americans that they're saying that. But there's three important things for me. Education is the top priority. When I came to the United States, I finished high school overseas. I came here and I took my first class in college. I got an A. My mom was so excited. She thought I just became the smartest kid on the planet because of the air here, considering, growing up in a war zone. But it wasn't. It was because I already studied whatever I was for my class, for Calculus 1, which is considered one of the hardest classes. So I know we have good education, but we need to support our teachers. And I don't mean support them by money. I believe that teachers should make more money, but I also think they deserve respect. They also deserve the support. They also work condition and class sizes. Crime is also another issue. If you don't have safe communities, you're not going to be able to learn. And most importantly is the legislation that I've worked on, protecting elderly from abuse, and also opioid and mental health. It might not make the top of the newspaper headlines, but it is important. It is the pandemic that we're dealing with, and we have to take action. And lastly, as I promised 8 years ago and 4 years ago when I got reelected, if you give me the chance to be your senator, I will give the job everything I have, and I will always be available to you and to your families. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Heather Bagnell. I'm your delegate in District 33 and your candidate for the newly created District 33C. 4 years ago, this community gave me a huge opportunity. You took a chance on me, and I promised you that I would, if you elected me, if you showed up twice, I just asked you to show up twice, once for the primary, once for the general, I would continue to show up for you. And I have spent the last 4 years trying to make good on that promise. I have created a reputation of being a pragmatic problem solver and a responsive representative. And I've worked really hard to unsilo government, which became incredibly important when we had a once-in-a-generation pandemic, to make sure that we were working from our local level all the way up to our federal level together. I am the first state-level representative from the Broadneck, for the Broadneck. I grew up right here in Cape St. Clair on Green Holly Drive. I now live, thank you. I live catty corner across the creek in Shore Acres, so I still consider myself a caper. During my time in office, I've held over 100 events, town halls, listening sessions, meetings to try and make sure that I was accessible as possible and that I was hearing from you. In fact, during the pandemic, I moved my open office hours online just to make sure that you had access to my office. I've sponsored 23 bills in my time and co-sponsored hundreds more. I'm currently the vice chair of the Anne Arundel County Delegation. I am also I served as the Capital Budget Subcommittee Chair for the Anne Arundel County Delegation. I served as the Public Health Chair for the Anne Arundel County Delegation. I'm on Health and Government Operations, and there I served on the Crisis Bed Work Group. I served on the Self-Direction Work Group. I created the Oral Health Task Force. And thanks to Cape St. Clair, I also was the impetus for the Riparian Rights Subcommittee for environment and transportation, because we were trying to solve the issues with community water access. I have become one of the leading voices on behavioral health in the state of Maryland. And I have spent 4 years singularly focused on access issues and workforce issues, particularly for our adolescent and our veteran communities, some of our two of our communities that are the most underserved. In preparation for tonight, I went through my end of session letters for the last 4 years, and it was really gratifying to see how much we have done. I mean, you've heard from my esteemed colleagues who have talked about the work that we've done. And I want to talk about some of the work that I did for you specifically. I worked with the State Highway Administration, with MDOT, with the Toll Authority, to try and deal with the traffic that's right here on the Broadneck Peninsula. We got the electronic tolling for the bridge. We got the electric gantries on both sides of the both shores, and I know Senator Reilly was integral in making sure that the western shore was heard. And we even started that pilot program for a traffic study. In 2020, I was Legislator of the Year from the American College of Emergency Physicians. In 2021, I was the Legislator of the Year from the Maryland State Dental Association. And in 2022, I received the Distinguished Service Award from the Maryland Association of the Deaf, as well as a number of other awards, including a Certificate of Achievement from the Department of Defense. But the thing that I'm the most proud of is the work that we've done here. I brought millions of dollars back to this district, but I also helped save the Anne Arundel County Food Bank with my esteemed colleagues. We also brought money back for Goshen Farm. We brought money back, not just the funding, but the permitting for the Cape St. Clair Shoreline Restoration Project. And most importantly, I have served hundreds of constituents and small businesses, helping them navigate the pandemic and the recovery. It has been my honor to serve this district, and I'm asking you to show up for me one more time and give me the honor of serving you for another 4 years. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm thrilled to be here this evening. I'm Kerry Gillespie. I am your Republican candidate for District 33C. And if you had told me 2 years ago I'd be here tonight, that I would be speaking to you and I would be running to represent you in the House of Delegates, I would have said there's no way. I'm not a career politician. I want to tell you a little bit about me and why I feel like I've been led down this path. First of all, I'm a military brat. I have lived between my father's service to our country and my husband's work as an environmental scientist. I have lived in 8 states and Puerto Rico. But I have lived here in Broadneck for over 11 years. I'm thrilled to call it home. I've been raising my family here, and I love it here. And it feels more like home than anywhere else because I've been here the longest I've ever lived anywhere. And I have a professional background in marketing, but the most important role that I've ever taken on in my life is being a mother to my 4 children. I have 19-year-old twins, one of whom graduated from Broadneck High School. I have a 13-year-old at Magothy River and a 4-year-old in preschool here who will be at Broadneck Elementary next year. A lot of people have asked me, why did I decide to run for office? Besides my professional and personal background, I've always been an advocate in our communities for my family and for all of your families. I advocated on Capitol Hill in response to health legislation that I felt like should be passed that would benefit, again, my family and lots of other families and children throughout the entire country. I also advocated over the years in our schools, and most recently in the last 2 years, I advocated at our local Anne Arundel County Board of Education. I advocated to get our kids back into schools. Maryland was the 3rd to the last state to go back. And I was one of the parents shouting from the rooftops how important it was to get our children into the classrooms in front of our vital and amazing teachers that we have here in Anne Arundel County, and how it was harming our children. And they were having learning regression and mental health issues because they had been kept out of schools. I've also advocated at the state senate on behalf of parental rights, which again, that is a vital thing that we have to preserve in the state of Maryland. After being shot down many times by those we elect to represent us, I decided I couldn't just advocate voluntarily anymore. So I decided to step up and to run, to actually serve and represent each of you in the community. I'm running because our education system is really struggling. We must do better for our children and our teachers. That our children are the future of the state and the future of the country. Maryland State Assessment testing post-COVID showed some really terrible things. Only 15% of children in the state right now are at grade level for math. It's unacceptable. Our children are also suffering from mental health issues. We have seen a huge increase in our kids in anxiety, self-harm, eating disorder, and sadly even suicide. In the Broadneck Peninsula and Severn Park, we also have experienced these things greatly. I'm also hearing from teachers who are struggling in their classrooms. These teachers have been piled the workload that has been put onto them by our Board of Ed, both locally and at the state level. We're experiencing teacher shortages in classrooms. The teachers have kids who are 1 to 2 years behind from learning regressions in their class, and nobody's talking about how to catch them up. Although funding schools, which did happen in our General Assembly this last year, is vital for our children and their future, we must ensure that the funds get where it needs to be, into the classrooms, to the teachers and to the students. Just funding them is not enough. We have to get it into the classrooms. We also must bring teachers to the table. We have to discuss exactly where we have come over the last 2 years, this regression that we've never experienced, and what we can do to do better. Well, there's my beautiful music. But I have a lot more concerns about the community. The one thing I want to end with is that I will represent each of you. I will be your voice. I will be responsive to you. I will not be a rubber stamp to one party line, and I will look forward to representing you after November 8th. Thank you all for your time tonight.
I came in late. Could you tell me the rules again? What does that mean when that thing goes off?
That's your hook. You're done.
Certain number of seconds?
4 minutes.
Oh, it's 1 minute?
No. The pink is 1 minute.
Oh, you give me a 1.
There's 1 minute left.
Okay, and then that means I'm done.
That means
I
you're
got
done.
you. Total of 4, right? Oh, I got it now. I know exactly what I'm going to say.
Not anymore, you just do the minutes.
All right. Well, my name is Steuart Pittman. I'm the current county executive. I think I see a lot of familiar faces. I've been out here plenty of times. The very first time I was pretty darn nervous, and it never gets old. So I was here with my friend Steve Shue, who I've been in contact with since then. I did not agree on everything with him, obviously, or I would not have run against him. But that was my first time with you. I was a less experienced person then. I'll tell you who I was at that point. I was a person who had spent 35 years running businesses and nonprofit organizations. I was making my living on the farm in South County. I was training horses. My only real experience in this community was Pony Club at St. Margaret's Pony Club, where I used to come in and at the church and go to horse shows. But and then Pleasant Plains. But I love this community. I love this whole county because it is so beautiful, and that is really the reason that I ran. I love nature. I'm a tree hugger. You've seen the cartoons in the Capitol about the tree hugger and the developer with the axe on the other side. That is me, and I love the water. And so I felt as though Anne Arundel County's plans for management of our growth were not being actually enforced. The small area plans in particular, there used to be 16 of them. I also felt like we hadn't adequately kept up with our growth, and I was being told this by the police officers, the firefighters, the teachers, people throughout government and people throughout communities, that the services hadn't kept up because the population had grown and we hadn't been willing to invest. And that was true of infrastructure as well. We had traffic bottlenecks in places that they shouldn't be because we hadn't planned for that growth, and the development wasn't happening in a smart way. We talked about smart growth, but we didn't actually protect open space. We were literally developing in greenways. So I came in, and the first thing we had, one of the first things on the agenda was Plan 2040, and we replaced the Citizens Committee that was there and brought in a different group, and we ended up with a plan that won the Maryland Sustainability Award for a plan for the future of development for the next 20 years, and it included small area planning. We call it region planning now. And one of the reasons I want to run for re-election, that I want another 4 years, is that we have to implement that. And I'm committed to the robust community engagement process that is put forth in that. And I'm committed to making sure that we don't rezone politically. We rezone after each of these groups makes their decisions about what their community should look like. The environment, the work that we have done also include the Forest Conservation Act. It was the strongest bill in the state. It did get watered down by the county council, and we have lost some forests as a result of that. They got grandfathered into the old rules, but it is a strong bill. We've done a green notices in plan and zoning, so developers know they can't get some of the modifications that they used to get. In terms of investments, we have caught up, and we have paid our police, our firefighters, our teachers enough so they don't leave to other jurisdictions, and that's why I'm endorsed by all of their unions and the environmental advocates. I got the A from League of Conservation Voters, and many others at this table did not. The thing that I'm most proud of is after 3 budgets getting a AAA bond rating from Moody's for the first time in our county's history, and then following up on that with finally, after 3 years of partisan budgets, a bipartisan budget. So it was a 6-to-1 budget in which we were able to cut the income tax, reduce our borrowing, increase our rainy day fund, and do all of that and get a bipartisan vote. So I think the next 4 years is going to be less partisan on the council. I will be term limited. There won't be a reason to try to get rid of me because I'll be gone anyway. But I do think that we are going to have a wonderful county council, and we are going to be able to make government more efficient. And that is really the thing right now that I think that we have to do. Our permitting processes are a mess, and we can make them better. We can get rid of a lot of the regulation that we have and make it streamline them. And our personnel processes are making it hard for us to hire. It's very slow in government when everything is centralized in personnel, and that will help all of our agencies to hire in a really competitive environment. And my greatest fear, my greatest concern about the future for our school system and all of our government agencies and our economy is the labor market. So we have to deliver, we have to make our jobs. Did the thing go off? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Yep, good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Haire. I'm the current county councilwoman for District 7 in Anne Arundel County, so that is Crofton, Riva, Davidsonville, Edgewater, Mayo, and all of South County. And I am running to be your next county executive to bring proactive, common sense, innovative leadership to the county executive's office. A little bit of background about me, because I have not yet had the honor of representing you and being familiar with each and every one of you, is just a little bit about how I got started. How did I get into this area? How did I come to the county council? I actually had my first lesson in public service when I was really little, about 6 years old. And like many lessons you get at that time, this one came from my mom. She was an incredible woman. She grew up in a tenement house, got a scholarship to college, and put herself through medical school by joining the military. So I was born on an Air Force base, and I'm one of 5 children, and childcare was very expensive. So when I was little, that often meant kids went to work with mom. And on Wednesday nights, she would pick me up from kindergarten, and she would pick my little sister up from preschool, and she would take us with her to the night clinic where she would work long into the evening, seeing patients for extra money to make ends meet. And she brought 2 things with her. She brought crayons and sleeping bags. And she would park us in an exam room in the clinic, and you know that crinkly paper that makes a terrible noise when you sit on it? It makes a phenomenal coloring book. And so we were allowed to sit there and color for as long as we wanted, as long as we were quiet and we didn't fight. And when we would get sleepy, we'd roll out the sleeping bags, fall asleep. She would come in at the end of the evening, pack us up, take us home. And she did this every week in and week out, until eventually she had saved up enough money to open her own medical practice. And that taught me something. That taught me that hard work leads to limitless opportunities. If you're willing to put in the work, the opportunities will flow from there. It's a concept that has always stuck with me. It's how our government should be working. It's a concept that my husband and I try and teach to our young children now, and it's something that I keep with me every single day. So fast forward a little bit to college, where I had my second lesson in public service, and I studied civil engineering. What does civil engineering and politics, or civil engineering and public service, have in common? It's your infrastructure, right? It's your roads, it's your bridges, it's your sanitary sewer, it's your sidewalks, it's your schools, it's your school capacity, it's the electricity. It's all infrastructure. And if you stop and think about it for a second, what is engineering? It's problem solving at its core. You take an issue, you take a set of constraints, and you work at it until you find a common sense, innovative, efficient solution. That's how government should work also. From there, I put myself through law school. I'm now a partner at a law firm in DC. I'm also a court-appointed special advocate for kids in foster care. So we help children who've been removed from their homes for abuse or neglect find a permanent, loving home and an opportunity to thrive. And at any one time in Anne Arundel County, there are about 180 of those children. So I've taken all of that with me in my time on the council. I've passed more bipartisan legislation as the lead sponsor than any other council member, and I've done that from the minority. I'm very proud of my record of common sense bipartisan work. I have done service-disabled veteran tax credits, the bill that allowed us to raise the ceiling on the savings account in the county. I was the lead sponsor on the first bill that did that, and it was a major reason for the increase in our bond rating. I've worked with families and communities to get more field lighting, to get more field access, to get better scheduling for things, to help with flooding issues. I am a proactive leader, and that is my promise to you. Unfortunately, under the current county executive, our violent crime is up 5.1%. The budget has ballooned $300 million. Taxes were increased. Income taxes went up the very first year by 12% increase in your rate, and the property tax credit, the voter-imposed property tax cap was circumvented. We can do better than this with proactive leadership. So my promise to you is to lead with logic and to make sure that every individual, every resident, and every family knows that our administration is invested in our shared success as a community. I ask for your vote. Thank you so much.
So, good evening. Thank you to everyone for putting on this forum and giving me the opportunity to speak to you, my District 5 neighbors. I'm Carl Neimeyer. I'm running to be the Anne Arundel County District 5's next councilman. I'm a combat veteran, a professional engineer, a small business owner, an award-winning chamber member, a community volunteer, and a father of 5 very loud future voters who were screaming earlier. So then I want to see Anne Arundel County support a future that works for everyone. A future where everyone has the means and the opportunity to build a life of meaning and purpose. I'll be able to effectively advocate for our community because I'll bring a unique set of experience and expertise to the council. The things that affect our lives every day: utility, roadways, construction. I've been involved with it from both sides of the table as both a representative of the government during my times of active duty service and as a contractor now in my current life. Of course, it's important to respond to your constituents' concerns and say that this needs to be improved. But apart from any other candidate for council, I'll be able to do that with the built-in knowledge to sanity check both what is feasible, what is quality, what is a reasonable cost for quality, so I can provide that input and oversight for how it can be improved. And that's part of the general issue I want to tackle here. It's real fiscal stewardship. I don't want to see us play this game where you'll either promise to cut taxes or slash budgets, regardless of the real-world effects, or even promise tons of spending, regardless of whether it's an effective, responsible use of funds. I'm in the middle that is serious about finding that balance and not carrying on our district's legacy of partisan performative gimmicks with the budget that started with Councilman Peralta and is continued to this day. So that's something I work with every day as a business owner. It's a hard thing, especially through the pandemic, looking for the balance, working with budgets, balancing employee pay and retention, the needs of operations and the needs of the company. It'll be incredibly valuable to add a fresh perspective to someone who has worked on these things, not just within the government framework. As you know, it's only fiscal responsibility if it actually works and meets our commitments. These are the things we expect to work without compromise: public safety, roads and utilities, our schools. And they can't work if you don't have the forward-thinking outlook that is thinking about what investments are needed to meet the community's needs and give long-term value. I want to use my perspective to help the county craft economic policy that is good for our whole community. The whole reason the government should have policy that supports businesses to improve the lives of its citizens. We can't have a thriving community with both gainful employment and the tax base to fund quality public goods. There's no good in supporting labor if your policies attack the businesses that employ them. And if you're supporting business, but you don't care if they're providing quality jobs, or your policies undercut good businesses that do, then you're really just supporting corporate interest. As a proud union employer and a trustee of their funds, I've got the perspective to be of service to both. The last major part of what I want to do on council revolves around the Chesapeake Bay. I want to see us taking proactive steps to keep protecting and improving the waterways, including what we do as a county for sediment control and how we invest in energy-efficient improvements. This is one area where the incumbent and I strongly differ. My opponent even just this year proposed an amendment to cut hundreds of thousands of dollars from wastewater management. The Director of Public Works was very clear and compelling on the risk of safe water infrastructure from this cut, especially with growth and maintenance needs. So clear that even Councilman Volke would not get on board. And I'm really looking forward to using my skills and experience as a professional engineer to more actively engage with our transportation agencies. I will work to ensure that when they address the traffic issues in District 5 that we suffer, particularly the Bay Bridge, that it's in line with the industry's best practices and will result in real improvements to serve the needs of District 5. So thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight, and I look forward to earning your vote on November 8th.
So my name is Amanda Fiedler. I have been representing you on the County Council for the last 4 years. For those of you who may not be familiar with me, I was born and raised in this district, graduated from Broadneck High School, went on to Salisbury University where I earned my BA, started a career in media, a career that I still enjoy to this day. My husband and I are raising our 3 boys right here on the Broadneck Peninsula who attend the same cluster of schools that I attended. And we have been, or actually they are the 4th generation for my family to live here. My roots here and the generations my family's had here is why I care so much about this district. It's why I ran in 2018, because I care about the communities and the people. So on to what the council job entails. The county council is the final fiscal authority. And every year the county council reviews the proposed budget by the county executive. We don't have line item veto authority. We are only allowed to cut items on the budget. This is a budget book. This budget book, 2 of them, is 1 year worth of taxes going to use. In the past 4 years, I've gone through these budgets with a fine-tooth comb because I committed to you 4 years ago not to be a rubber stamp on any county executive's budget and make sure that your hard-earned dollar is going to work for you. That's why I have literally shook the couch cushions, not doing massive cuts, slashing, or defunding, but shaking the couch cushions to find 0.5% shaving here, 2% shaving there, never cutting a single police officer, firefighter, or teacher. And that is because I made a commitment to you. I voted to support tax cuts for our veterans and our first responders and our families, and I've opposed all tax increases. I committed to working for a stronger economy, and that's why I have introduced and passed multiple pieces of legislation that cut red tape for our local businesses, allowing them to grow and expand and offer more job opportunities. In 2018, when I stood here and I told you that I would work for safer communities, I lived up to that commitment. I've worked with neighborhoods on all sides of the 5th District to improve infrastructure so that our families, pedestrians, and bikers can get where they need to go safely. I've also championed mental health access to beds in our county. We have a serious mental health crisis on our hands. And I've worked with our first responders, specifically our police, to build relationships between law enforcement and communities and address a variety of issues within neighborhoods, starting with nuisance housing and speeding. And by the way, nuisance housing, I'm co-sponsor of a current bill before the council that would help us address that. I have a true partnership with our police, and that's why I'm proud to be endorsed and supported by them. 2018, I also committed to you to increase transparency and development. I passed multiple pieces of legislation that require more notification from developers to you, the community, so that you can give back and participate in the development process. I've voted against all increased density and high density initiatives. I have rejected any applications for increased residential zoning because I committed that to you. And you might think, because my opponent seems to want to spread misinformation, that I can't get anything done because I'm super hyper partisan. Well, guess what? In the last 4 years, I have introduced all of this legislation as either a lead sponsor or a co-sponsor. And this is legislation that has protected the shoreline in Cape St. Clair, but proposed ways to keep us moving again over the Bay Bridge. That's a major issue. There's bills in here on anything and everything you can think of: mental health, education, your health and safety in the community. because I am a person who lives up and honors my word, even when it's hard and I'm faced with tough decisions. I'm happy to answer any questions. It would be an honor to serve you for 4 more years and continue to give you the committed leadership you can trust that has experience and proven results. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ed Reilly, and I don't want your vote. But I pity you folks. Look at these qualified, educated, motivated people. Our county, our state will be in good hands. You have to make the determination of who best fits your values. 20 years ago, I started my political career being the county councilman for District 7. Crofton and South County, I loved District 7. Then Janet Greeno retired as a state senator, and I, like one of our panelists, was appointed by the Central Committee. I had the privilege of being appointed a state senator by Martin O'Malley. And for 13 years, I've worked in the Senate, and for 10 years, because of redistricting, that's when I came to your neighborhood. I'd like to, again, emphasize some of the projects that these folks and myself worked on together for your benefit. Goshen Farms, we got them some money, fixed the foundation. Beach restoration. Bo Breeden, where are you, buddy? In the back? Bo has worked tirelessly, hundreds upon hundreds of hours with experts and government agencies. We finally almost have the contraflow gates done. Now, I think it's been ready since the summer, but I don't think they wanted to test it during our weekend travel. But any day now, you're going to see those orange arms going back and forth. It wasn't only me, it was us. Don't forget about the Severn River Bridge that was expanded on our watch. And for you folks who may be here from Severna Park, the brand new Severna Park High School was built during that time. And as I leave, I can announce that the new Crofton High School is fully staffed, filled with kids. Now here's an interesting thing. When Steve Shue made the final approval to build Crofton High School, and this is a lesson for our elected officials, he said 1,750 kids. We want smaller schools because the average size is 2,000 to 2,200. Well, this is the final. They started out with 2 grades, went to 3. Now this September we have 4, and guess what? The school's overcrowded. The school's overcrowded. If you build a new school, people will move into the community and backfill. You got to add a factor for that, and the state of Maryland is very resistant of that. I started my career when I was 52 years old and had 2 grandkids, and every time I got up in front of you and had a chance to talk about my lovely wife, we'll be celebrating 49 years of marriage. And we have gone from 2 grandkids to 10. I love my kids, but I really love my grandkids. There's one issue that no one touched on, so I'm going to leave a final question for you. What is the most important constitutional amendment that's on the ballot that you will have an opportunity to vote yes or no to? Asia, do you know what it is? Recreational cannabis. Use the right term. The General Assembly has said we want the citizens to opine on whether or not we should have recreational cannabis. Now, they haven't given us a lot of the structure and the detail. We don't know if it's going to be at the CVS or the Giant or through the dispensaries, which we currently have. I'm a big advocate for medical cannabis. I was a strong advocate. I voted yes in favor of it all the time. I'm a strong opponent to recreational marijuana, cannabis. Do your homework, form your opinion. When you go to the polls, you'll have an opportunity to express it. So ladies and gentlemen, it's been a real honor. Mrs. Lynch, thank you for your never-ending support, and it's been a real pleasure. Thanks a lot.